You're listening to Punisher Waterfowls, the Union 0430 podcast. Brought to you by Real Geese Decoys, the most technologically advanced silhouette decoy on the market. First Light, the best hunting gear on the planet. Go farther, stay longer. And Ducklander Calls, tradition, education, and quality. Built to hunt.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the Union 0430 episode. I got to look at my notes. 184. This is awesome. We're like 16 episodes away from hitting number 200, and we've got something really special planned for that. So, thanks for tuning back in. If you're listening, you won't be able to see this, but if you're watching, you'll just see it's Craig and I on, and we've got a good friend, a new friend coming to us all the way from the Show Me State, Missouri. Mr. Kyle Smock with this new business that it just happened to come across it, Kyle, on my LinkedIn. You and I connected through LinkedIn and did a back and forth and got you back on the show. But before I get into introducing Kyle and going on too much, I did want to take a chance to thank our sponsors of Real Geese, First Light Hunting, and Ducklander Calls. Without them, you know, they're showing lots of support for us, and it means a lot, and they've been with us for a long time. So please reach out to them and check out their socials and send them some love and let them know that you heard about them through us. So with that, Craig's coming to us from Wabashine, Ontario. I'm just outside Kingston, Ontario, and like I said in the introduction, Kyle Smock coming to us from Missouri. Buddy, thanks for coming on.
That's right. Yeah, thank you for having me.
So I will just put out a little precursor here that Kyle's having some internet issues, so just bear with us. We're going to get through it. So there may be a little bit of lag, but don't freak out too much. We'll be okay. So Kyle's with a new company, like I alluded to, called Show Me Ducks. And dude, I got to tell you, like I've said on this show 100 times, Craig, and you've heard me say it. I don't know where innovation with the waterfowl industry, where it can go next. Like it always seems like it's, you know, like what's going to be that next thing. And, you know, here we go. Show Me Ducks. They're showing up on the scene, and now we get to pick their brains and find out all about it. So Carl, buddy, I'm not going to steal any of your thunder. I'm going to give the floor. I'm going to give the floor to you and let you open it up, and then Craig and I are just we're going to be relentless on some questions here. So we'll let you
okay.
do your spiel, man.
My spiel, okay. Well, I'm in sales, so I've got a long spiel or a short spiel. Just depends on how much time I have with the customer. So
yeah.
But we'll just. What's that?
I said, yeah, go for it, buddy. Whatever you want to do.
Yeah, so we'll just give a little, I guess, history. So our company, we mainly sell welding and welding equipment and cable ties actually into the farm and ag industry. That's where the company originated. That's the responsibility of the parent company, if you will.
Yeah.
But the owner is a longtime duck hunter. He's been duck hunting for 60 years. He's duck hunted all over the United States. He's planning a trip up to Canada. And he actually hunted with Phil Robertson. You know, he's got some of his original duck calls from back before they were big. Yeah, so he's been in it for a long time. And, you know, he's always wanted to have basically a share of the sporting goods industry, if you will, and kind of get into that and sell to some of these sporting goods companies. So he's an inventor. You know, he loves to tinker and kind of came up with the idea of, you know, these machines that we can set up to where they just run on 12 volt. You really only need a car battery or a deep cycle battery of some kind to run them. So there's no generator, there's no wired in power supply or anything. And that's what's really set the Show Me Ducks line kind of, set them up to be unique. Is really anybody can get into having our products, and it makes it easy to bring everything to the duck blind or the duck pit or a slough or a backwater creek or wherever you're at, which is great. So really, with not much effort so far, we've already started tapping into some of the big retail companies, and word is just spreading like wildfire. It's been pretty insane. So,
well, the thing with duck hunters, and Craig, I think you'll agree with me here. As soon as something new comes out, everybody is like, fuck, I got to get my hands on it because I got to give this a try. I got to try it. I got to see what's going on here.
Yeah, people got to buy.
Yeah, and if it's gonna, I don't think I'm gonna say anything bad here when I say, regardless of whatever decoy accessory, call, camo, no matter what you use, you're still at the mercy of the birds. But,
right.
And I think 99% of all duck hunters understand this. But if there is a product that gives you that 1 extra % chance, they're going all in. And that's, conducive to what you were saying when you said, you're starting to take off like wildfire, because I can just imagine everybody jumping on board with this new product. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, and the line originated with he created basically the we call it the ice quacker, which was kind of our funny spin on the ice melting machine, if you will. But really, it just agitates water. If you get out there in a morning where you have a lot of ice, you don't have to go out and chop up the whole field and get it out of the way and fall in the water. And we've been through that. We've done that before. So this, you just chop a real small hole in the ice at the shoulder of whatever water feature you're hunting over, and you get that thing to shoot water out onto the ice. And I mean, I'm telling you what, in 30 minutes, 45 minutes, you've got a huge field. You can put your decoys out, even on that thin amount of water that you have, and it'll start moving them around and agitating them. And that's the other great part about it, is it also will agitate like a whole field of decoys. I mean, it moves a tremendous amount of water. So, started with that idea. And then we came up with the decoy machine, where you can hook up 4 decoys and get them to bob around and look like they're feeding and diving down. And I was a little skeptical, to be honest with you, at the beginning. I was like, I don't know if this is going to work. This looks kind of silly, because we do welding at our warehouse. So he did it in the back of our warehouse, and it looked kind of hobgobbed together, if you will. And I'm telling you what, man, we took it out the first time and used it, and it's almost like it sucked the ducks down. It was crazy, because it really makes them look lifelike, and they're moving around and, bobbing under the water. And it's
no, absolutely. And when it comes to, so a couple things on the ice quacker. First off is the price. So I don't own an ice eater, and primarily the reason why I don't own an ice eater is because they are very expensive to buy, but yours is priced very, very reasonably. And I would hazard to say that it's very close to half the price of your competitors from what I've seen.
Yeah. And that using that 12 volt is really what, we can lower that price down, because you don't have to have, it really souped up and all this. I mean, we've even had customers that take them and they cut the battery cable clamps off and they wire them in direct and they hook it up to like a light switch or what have you in their pit. Okay, great. I mean, you can do whatever you want at that point. But yeah, that was the other mentality, is to really make it more affordable for the end user. Somebody can just, they need to have it. They can get it and put it in their pit and go shoot some ducks. So.
Yeah, and I'm trying to right now. So our buddy Mark, that comes on the show, he's usually the tech genius, and he does this share screen where he okay, maybe I got it, where he as we're talking, he can show the screen, but it's not working for me. So I really wanted to show that, but for anybody that's, you're listening to this or you're watching, all you got to do is Google "show me ducks" and the website pops up, and you can see all their videos and stuff like that. That ice melter thing is the thing that there's a couple things, like I said, that I really like about it. I like the fact that you guys have designed yours to sit really on the river or on the water bank, right? As opposed to being a fully submerged bubble, or I call them bubblers, or
Correct.
fully submerged bubbler that's sitting underneath the water, and it's just, bubbling the water and agitating the water and stopping the water from freezing. But the way you guys have designed yours, you sit it on that river bank or water bank, whatever, and with it shooting water out, and you just said, 30 minutes it'll have a hole open up, and when you get into that time of the year, and you're on a spot where the birds want to be, if you're able to provide them with water, it's definitely going to suck them in.
And yours is shooting the water up on an angle on top of the surface?
Yeah, so you can actually use it either way. You can so the motor is tiltable, and then it has some screws that you can tighten down once you get it set it where you want. So you could set it up to be that the bubbler, if you will. You can set it under your decoys and do that.
Yep.
And keep a hole open if that's what you need. Or you can chop a small hole in the ice right at the edge of your water, and you want to set it at an angle to where really the blades are half in and half out of the water, and it will get it up on top of the ice. And really, that's a twofold method. Is you get a body of water then on top of the ice where you can get your decoys out quicker. But then that water that's sitting on top of the ice then continues to move around, and it will eventually melt that whole swath of ice that any of the water is touching. So it really works. I mean, it was very impressive the first time we went and tested it and used it. Because again, it was one of those things where you're like, yeah, I kind of get it. I mean, maybe it'll work. But we went on and did it, and we did a time lapse for it, and it was just remarkable how fast, and you're not out there chopping ice and sinking it under the other ice slab. And I always fall in. I don't know what it is, but I always fall in and get wet. So, it's super convenient. And then we do have additional accessories. You can get a solar panel for it that'll charge your battery. We sell a timer as well. So if you don't want to mess with it, if you wanted to start getting ice out or water out on the ice, 3:00 in the morning, set it for 3:00 in the morning, 30 minutes on, 30 minutes off. Easy as that. So, he really thought about everything, and, everything is built well. It's, stainless steel, it's heavy duty stuff. But again, it's still at an affordable price, which is really nice.
Yeah, I thought that's what was cool when I was watching the videos, how you're saying that you can use it to start off by getting the water on top, and then you've got your decoys out. You've created a water body on top of the ice, and then it'll melt for you afterwards. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah. And then in addition to that, now we have an even more affordable, we call it the mini quacker, but it's basically a smaller version. And the really cool thing about that is, if you wanted to use the ice quacker to get your decoy field out quickly, Then you can also have this set up. Now, this one mounts to either a T-post, which you can drive in the ground, or you can really, in like a muddy bottom, you can just press it in the ground with your boot. But it'll also mount on a round pipe or a square pipe or really whatever you have. But it's a smaller motor that you can set up close to the decoy field. You can set it on a timer, or it has, an on-off switch you can mess with. And that agitates water again. I mean, it really sends water into the decoy field and keeps them moving on slow days. So if you couple those two together, or you pair the ice quacker or the deep diver together, I mean, you're asking for ducks to just fall in the water.
That's a very nice segue into your next product, Kyle, which is the deep diver. And when I had seen it, the first thing I had thought, so up here, or I shouldn't say up here, but where I hunt majority of the time, and Craig, I'm pretty sure it's the same for you. So we have these soft bottom lakes, so we call them loon shit, right? So for us, there's products out there that you can attach your decoy rig to, that'll add some movement, but it's a weighted down thing, and then it's sitting in that loon shit, or in that very soft bottom, and you can't even walk out in this to set up your decoys, right? Like, you've got to throw your decoys out and then recover them with a boat or whatever, right? But when I had asked you, the first thing that came to my mind with the deep diver was, hey, listen, does this have to be on a hard bottom? And you were like, no, absolutely not. It doesn't have to be on a hard bottom. So that right there piqued my interest, because now I'm like, okay, now there's something that'll work around where I am, that's not going to be this weighted down thing that's going to sink to China, if you know what I mean.
Right. Yeah, because you can set, again, you can, multifaceted. You can set it up with a weight, or with like a boat anchor or something, if you wanted to keep it stationary. But in reality, the motor sits under those 4 decoys that it's attached to. So even if it gets relatively close to a field, those decoys are going to bump into them first. And you can kind of play with, I mean, it's going to make them look more lively, if you will, if that whole group of 4 is moving around kind of in a circle. So, also with the deep diver, we did learn from using it. So we have a Rev 2, if you will, the deep diver 2.0, which is, that's coming out this year. And that one, we actually added another 50 foot to the cord. So we've got a 100-foot cord on that. And the really nice thing about that is, like you said, if it's somewhere where it's hard to retrieve, or, if you really want to get the field out there a ways, you have that ability to stretch the cord out, but then also to use that cord to wrangle it back in. And then the lanyards that are on the decoys and what are attached to the motor are adjustable, so you can get that lanyard real short if you need to, and that motor can sit right under those decoys, and it'll move around a lot if that's what you want. Or you can drop that motor down quite a bit, and it won't move as much, but it still will move around. So, it's just something to get and kind of experiment with and see what works best for you.
Yeah, and I think that you hit the nail on the head right there, where you said, like, this isn't this isn't a slag against your product, and this isn't a slag against anybody that's listening. But there's no product that you're going to buy that you're just going to take it out of the box and just throw it out, and without some sort of trial and error with it, right? Like, and if you think that should be the case, well, then I think you're going to be severely disappointed with any product that you buy, because depending on, you're in Missouri, I'm down in where I am, Craig is where he is, Mark is in Nova Scotia, Phil is where he is, the other guys from the show, everybody is in different hunting pressure, the whole bit. So there's going to be a great deal of trial and error and trying to figure out exactly how you want this to work.
Yeah.
And it's nice that it's so
That's
adjustable like that,
definitely
where just the depth of the lanyards on each decoy can kind of alter what it is it's doing and how it's operating for you. And I like the idea that the whole unit can kind of move around, so it's not just decoys just bobbing like on a stationary jerk rig or something, right? Like
right.
the whole thing can kind of move around like ducks naturally would too.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's kind of what we really had to have in mind is, like you said, I mean, there's so many duck hunters in so many different parts, all
Mm-hmm.
over. I mean, there's some guys that hunt little bitty slivers of a creek and they just slaughter them, so you have
Absolutely.
to have that in mind of they may not have that much water, or like,
Mm-hmm.
here or in Arkansas or Iowa, you hunt a flooded cornfield and you may only have 2 or 3 feet of water, or,
Yep.
whatever it is. So you got to be able to adjust, you got to be able to make it as, user friendly, if you will. Because if it's convenient, it seems like people enjoy it more. So,
Well, absolutely. And I think that's the key to any product having any real success in this industry, is that it has to be robust enough that if you're hunting the Pacific Northwest to, Louisiana, up to Maryland and into Saskatchewan, into that prairie pothole region and the Dakotas, like it's got to be something that, regardless of where you're hunting, it has to be able to be manipulated to work in your favor in whatever conditions or area that you want to hunt in.
right.
So,
Absolutely.
I really do, like, I gotta look at some more video, because I really do I want to know more about this, like the ice quacker is the one that really, because depending on the year, and the same with you guys down in Missouri, right? Like, I know you're a little bit further south, but I remember I've spent a fall in Missouri in Fort Leonard Wood. So I know that it can get pretty chilly down there pretty quick, and things can freeze up fairly fast. So, you know, it could cut your season. It could shorten your season very quick if you don't have the ability to open up water. So this ice
Right.
cracker thing is really interesting to me. It really, really is.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, in Missouri, we can have winters where it doesn't dip below 32 very frequently, and then we have winters where it's, -12 for weeks. So,
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, it's again just one of those things where, I mean, we're in part of the flyway here. Again, we go down to Arkansas quite a bit because they're a little bit more in the flyway, if you will. But yeah, I mean, it's those items are definitely stuff that I mean, we have those in our arsenal pretty much all the time at this point, because it's just, yeah, if you get froze overnight, you're done.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the one thing I'm picturing here is because like I'm right on the bottom end of Georgian Bay, so huge open water for even a lot of the winter. But the shoreline gets iced up, so you can't really get out onto the big water, or it's not
Sure.
safe to be out there. The waves are just too big. But we've got a lot of little small backwater close by. But again, it freezes up. So if you've got
Yeah.
ducks flying over going to the big water, and it's like you can open up a little pocket in one of these little back marshes, like, and it's the only little bit of open water, you'd have it pretty well made back there.
Yeah.
And
And
that'd
Yeah.
be a good
that's what
application for what I've got here.
well, that's what I'm thinking, Craig. I think, and same with me. I've got big water around me, but the big water is fine for the ducks if they're just going to go loaf. But if they still need to eat, out in that big water, there isn't a food source for them out in the big water. So if you can open up that marshy, duck hole, if you can open that up, as they're flying over and they see, water, I think you're setting yourself up for success.
Yeah.
And especially
Yeah,
like
because we
some of
do
these
that
backwater
exact.
spots. Sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say we do the exact same thing with, cornfields. I mean, that's a big thing for us, or rice fields. Same idea.
Yeah. Yeah. Makes sense. What were you going to say, Craig?
I was going to say, like some of these backwater spots, like they're flooded timber. like not great like you see down south or anything, but yeah, it's like the ducks are going over that and they see this big open flooded timber area that has water on it again. That'd be
Yeah,
yeah,
that's money then.
you'd do pretty well.
Yeah, I think so. I think so too.
Yeah.
So, the cool thing about this, and you had talked about it, and it's Mr. and I apologize if I don't get his name right, but Mr. Niders, is that correct? The founder?
That's it. Yeah, it's Neaters, but that's okay.
Neaters.
Everybody calls him that.
Yeah.
So, yep.
So Mr. Neaters, he has, a successful business. He's a businessman. He's, he does his thing. And he's always, you said he's always wanted to dip his toes into this world, into this industry. And, we've talked to a lot of people on this show, that is innovated something or invented something or put their own little tweak on an already established product, whatever it is. But at the end of the day, every person that's invented something or put their own little tweak on it, it's come out of necessity. It's come from the fact that they were out one day and something caused them to not have a good hunt. And then somebody said, you know what? Maybe if we did this, this would work. And then that's what Mr. Neaters did, right? Like that's what he did. He recognized that, hey, listen, we could do this, we could make this, and I think people would use it. So out of necessity, he's created another, he's put his own tweak on something that's, it's already been out there, but everybody, that tweak, it's always making it better. And more user friendly and stuff. So I've said it. I'm not much of a big game hunter. I don't hunt deer. I'll hunt turkey if somebody really lines it up for me, because I don't chase turkey or anything like that. But when it comes to duck hunters, waterfowlers, and I know the deer hunters and the big game hunters are going to lose their goddamn mind when I say this, but waterfowl, like, they are very, very innovative. There's always something that they can, put a tweak on to change it, to make it work better for them in their situation, in their area, or whatever. And it just blows my mind. And I wish I had the brain that some of these people have to be able to think of these things and go, you know what? I think if we angled this and we did this and changed that, it would make a world of difference. Because I don't think that way. And I think it's amazing when a waterfowler gets skunked out on a hunt, especially if it's a cold fucking miserable day, because then it just drives the creative juices even more. And then they go sit down with a piece of paper and a pencil and they sketch something out and then they make it happen. It blows my mind every time when I hear about a new product.
Yeah, I'm the same. Like, I can't conceptualize stuff like that, right? It's like, you make something, give it to me, and I'll tell you if I like it. But there's no way I'm coming up with it.
Yeah,
with the designer.
Exactly, right? Like, I know what I like. I know what I like. I know, like, I can take something and I could use it and I'd go, yeah, you know what? That's not going to work for me. It's not going to work for my style. But to be able to sit down and think something through, and then all of the trials and errors, like, it's one thing to think up an idea, but then you've got the technical drawings and get it to an engineer to get it manufactured and yeah, just insane. The amount of time, like, it's not an easy thing. And I think that's the reason why, you don't see it there's not a bunch of people that's inventing stuff all the time, because it's hard, it's expensive. And these days, the one thing I did want to ask you, because it's becoming more and more prevalent, especially for Canadians, is that is the product 100% American? because and the reason why I asked that is because that's huge to Canadians when we know that something's 100% American. Well, then we can escape paying duties. We get free trade, right? So, the United States, Canada, and
Right.
Mexico, we have free trade. So, like our sponsors, Real Geese, like they're 100 at Ohio, they're 100% American owned and operated, and all their, all everything is done in America, right? So, when
Right.
stuff comes across the border, we don't have to pay duties on that. So my question to
Right.
you guys is that the case for you guys?
Yeah. So the products are actually made. It's kind of a mixed bag, if you will. So
Right.
unfortunately, we have some of it made in China.
Yeah.
But the motors are all made in Australia.
Okay.
So we do have them kind of mixed. It's not all 100% made in China. We do have a manufacturing plant that we work with and have it all imported to our warehouse.
Yeah.
But we already do have some conversations going on with some of the Canadian retail
Oh, good.
sporting goods, if you will.
Yeah.
And they're all, I mean, everybody's very excited about it. So, we're going to be at, I believe we're going to be at Delta Waterfowl. And I've talked to a couple of people that are, with some of the Canadian sporting goods. They're going to be there. They'd like to, they want to see it in person. I mean,
Of course.
it's one thing to see like a YouTube video or something where you're showing the attributes, but you can see like, how is it packaged? Is it nice looking? Is it robust enough?
Right. Right.
And then I get to do my spiel, which is what I'm good at. So,
Yeah.
But so yeah, to answer your question, right now they are imported.
Right.
It's not really out of the question, about whether it would be American made or not. But we kind of hit the ground running, and it was really about like, where can we get these parts, and how fast can we get them?
Yeah.
So that's kind of where we're at right now.
Yeah, and don't take it as though that's a bad thing. It's something that is
Sure.
that a Canadian thinks about. But the biggest reason why I ask it is because there's some companies that they don't have a distribution system within Canada, so we've got to order from the United States, right? And it's got to come through USPS or a courier service or whatever. But if you guys are in talks with Canadian distribution already, well then as Canadians, we understand that we're going to have to pay duties on stuff coming from the States. The problem that we have is that some companies they don't gather the duties or the taxes on their end right from the purchase. So you pay, let's say you pay your $200 for your product, then it shows up through, it was sent with USPS, and then it comes Canada Post or a courier, and then when it shows up at your door, you owe more money. And that's usually the thing that pisses off most Canadian
Sure.
consumers, right? But
Yeah.
But now, if you're talking about having distribution within Canada, well, then the business, whatever business it is that's going to be selling them, well, they'll soak the duty price right into their price, right? So yeah, we'll pay more for it, but most people know, well, they had to absorb in that shipping and the duties and stuff, so it is going to be more than if you purchase it, through the States or whatever. But no, that's a good thing. And if everything lines up, buddy, we'll be able to meet personally at Delta in July in Baton Rouge, because I'm planning on being down there as well.
Yeah, that'd be fantastic.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean that's really what we're after. I mean, we'll have channels to be able to sell B2C, but really that's not our end goal. It's really to sell to these retail distributors. I mean, they do it so much better than we can, so I'd rather get hooked in with some Canadian sporting goods companies or hunting, and
I've got a couple,
that's who I want to sell through.
Well, I've got a couple friends that I'm going to introduce you to. And
Okay.
and Pat and Ryan, if you are listening, well, if you're listening to this, you've already got the email because I've already sent it. So yeah, I will call. I'll introduce you to a couple of my friends that, in my opinion, and I would say Craig, yours too. I'm speaking for you, but the biggest the biggest retailer of waterfowl hunting in Canada would be Pat and Ryan, and I think they would be very interested. But again, right? Like it's like you said, people want to see it. They want to touch it, feel it,
Oh
the
yeah.
whole bit, right? Like it's nice to look at a video and see it, but you know, if you're going to carry it, you want to touch it, feel it, all that good stuff, right? So, but that's a good question. I got to ask those
Yeah.
guys if they're going to Baton Rouge in July, because that'd be cool if they're going as well.
Yeah. So we're planning on going to down to Baton Rouge, and then I was actually just told right before I left today that we were approved to go to SHOT Show for 2025, which is
Oh,
in Las Vegas.
yep,
Yeah. So
that's the
we've
time,
been
buddy.
yeah, so this will be our first time going. Now Randy, the owner, he's gone down there before, just walk the show, to see what's interesting. Typically he buys a bunch of stuff. But yeah, this will be the first time we get to kind of show off and get some more of our product knowledge out there.
Yeah, no, and
I think
yeah, go for it, Craig.
I was just gonna say, like, the big thing too with either getting Canadian distributors or just even where you guys are located or where the products are coming from. The big thing for us up here too is service and support too, right?
Right.
Like, there's lots
Yeah.
of
Yep.
products you can buy out there online or whatever, but then what happens if a piece is missing or something breaks or you just can't get it to work? Like, the support and the kind of the background scene is huge up here for us. There's
Yeah.
nothing because
And
yeah,
that's
like
one of the
nothing's
great
coming from
things.
here too, right? So it's like everything is imported from somewhere. So it's like
Right.
where are you? Where's the distributor? How can we get support for that?
Yeah.
Yeah, good point.
Yeah, and that's one of the great things about our company already being kind of in like I said, we're in the farm and ag industry. We have a great customer support staff already. So that's what I've already been telling a lot of our distributors that we're working with is, warranty stuff is all on us. Just let the customer come back to us with any issues. Um, because it keeps it clean, it keeps it easy. They like for us to handle it instead of them having to handle it. So,
Yeah, for sure.
most people will be talking to me if they have a problem. So, which is
No,
fine. I mean, that's perfect.
no, and it's good, Craig. And I'm sorry, I don't want to hijack your point here, but you know, um, the the people that are listening to the show here right now, and if they're on the fence and they're thinking, well, well, let's see this thing. I gotta do my own research and stuff. But the fact that you just said that very simple thing that, well, if someone has a problem, chances are they're going to be talking to me. Um,
Yeah.
there is a level of comfort in that, right? When people can say, well, I know who I'm going to be talking to when I call if I have a problem. Um, so that's one of the beauties about small business, right? It's that it's not this big, huge conglomerate, um, faceless brand, right? When you know that
Right.
you're going to call somebody that's actually touching the product and knows exactly what you're talking about. um there's a huge level of comfort. I said a little level of comfort, but I think it's a huge level of comfort. Sorry,
Yeah.
Craig, I hijacked you there.
No, and then to know that it's, you're going to deal with a company where your only option isn't to go online and try and find something on their website and get stuck doing like the online live
Yeah,
chat option that never works and
right.
all the automated
Yep.
answers and stuff like that, right? So yeah, that sort of thing's huge.
Yeah. I refer to that as the Amazon black hole. So,
Yeah, yeah, 100%. And that's a good thing, and I've wanted to talk about this. um Kyle, one thing about this show, and I'm very surprised because we're about 40 minutes into it yet, and we haven't went off on a tangent where we've talked about nothing to do with your product or duck hunting whatsoever. Um, but here we go. Here's the first tangent for tonight. And listen, I use Amazon. I do. I buy stuff from Amazon. My kids do, my wife do. And it is convenient. But I try not to use it. And I'm not throwing any shade on anybody that uses it, by no means. But it is going to be the death of small business. And even big business, really, because if you look at some of this is a rabbit hole, boys, I'm telling you. If you look at like the big brands like Walmart and Costco and those places, they've got to be feeling a hit with Amazon. Do you know what I mean? Just because like where I live, if I can get my order in before 4 o'clock in the afternoon, 90% of the time I have it before lunch the next day, which is crazy.
That's crazy.
It's crazy.
Especially then you're not driving and in your truck with the price of gas to go get a couple of things every couple of days, right?
And and it's very convenient and it's fast, and like you said, Craig, you don't have to deal with the crowds of people. You're not burning your own fuel, which is ridiculously high. And I know I'm complaining about gas prices to Kyle, who's probably at about what are you at right now? You're probably at what are you at a gallon right now?
I think we're around 330, 329, something like that.
So up here where I am, I'm at $1.65 a liter, and there's 4 liters to the gallon. So yeah. So
wow.
Yeah. So yeah, that'll give you an idea. I was in Florida a couple years ago and had a rental car, and I had to go top it up before I brought it back. And I was just doing the math. And I think I was at, like, at the time, I think it was under $3. It was under $3 a gallon at the time. And I remember I'd done the math and I was like, I think I just paid like 70 cents a liter for gas. And I was blown away. I was like, I'm moving to fucking Florida. That's it. Like, I'm getting out of communist Canada. But that's another.
Turkey scouting's been a little more costly this year.
I bet. But there's our first tangent. Amazon is going to be the death of small business. So I get it. It's convenient. If you need your goddamn light bulbs, go for it. But don't
toilet paper.
Yeah, but don't totally, check out on small business, because the small business needs you, right? But
yeah,
that's that tangent. No,
well,
go for it, buddy.
I'll add to your Amazon tangent, just from a sales point of view. You know, like I go in and talk to all these customers, and they're typically pretty proud of their warehouses and their distribution channel. And I'll tell you, I mean, every time that I go in and do a tour of someone's warehouse where they're shipping and all that, 90% of the time I hear, well, we had to change this and this and this to keep up with Amazon.
Really, eh?
And it's just, it's more robotic. I mean, we just toured a warehouse the other day, and they have, the cube picking system and all this. I mean, they're almost shipping completely robotic. It's just nuts.
It is.
So yeah, I agree with you 100%. Yeah.
Again, man, like, I get it. Especially when you're like this faceless company, right? Like, it's a board of governors, and profit is the only thing that matters, right? And I understand that all business, profit really, really matters. But when you're a small business, the profit matters, but you also have your family, and I call it, your immediate working community, your family, right? That right. Your workers, that your head of manufacturing's daughter named Sally is going to university or whatever, right? All those things, because it's a little bit more personable. But then when you get these big, they could care less about laying people off. If they got to go buy a couple of robots and it saves them $10,000 at the end of the year, well, then that's what they're going to do, right?
Right. Yep.
Anyways, we went too long on that, Craig. What do you think? Way better than what we did with our DU and Delta conversation last week, because that went on for a good 25 minutes, and that was only supposed to be a 2-minute bit, but
all valuable information.
All totally valuable.
Pure gold.
Kyle, so I know you touched on the fact that you're coming out with the Deep Diver 2.0 this year. So what is going to be
right? So
I guess the question that I want to ask is if somebody is listening to this episode, which will drop on Monday in 3 days, if somebody's listening to this episode of the show and they're like, you know what, I'm going to order one. Do they wait? Do they get the one that you guys have in stock now, or do they wait for 2.0?
So they actually should wait. Well, I guess I could answer this 2 different ways. So we currently do not have any in stock. They have all been bought out through they've all been bought through the distributors we're working with currently. So on our website, we do have like a store locator because we're going to be all over the map. Hopefully. So they can go on there, they can search for a store locator, and they can buy the Deep Diver #1, Rev 1. But if they wait for the 2.0, they're going to have additional features. They're going to have that 100-foot long cord, and it's not going to be much longer. We've already been having meetings this week and into next week with the distributors we're working with to update pictures, update descriptions, update pricing. So, before duck season even starts, that will all be changed, and they'll be able to get their hands on a 2.0.
That's amazing.
Probably by the end of next month. Yeah. So we're working quickly to change that. Yep.
I just lost my train of thought, but I do know that you guys are your product is being carried by Max Prairie Wing, and that's got to be a nice little feather to put in your hat to be able to say that your product is in that store. A legendary store that if you're in the industry and want to make your mark in waterfowl sales of equipment, gear, accessories, whatever you want to call it. I think that's the mecca, right? Like that's where everybody wants to go, and I think that's the goal. Once you're in Max, you're good, and especially if you continue to stay in Max. But my train of thought that I lost is that, and I think you already answered it, but your end goal, the Show Me Ducks brand, that end goal is no one's going to order from your website. It's always going to come from a distributor, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, you actually can't even go on the website and order directly. So we do sell them through. Correct. Yeah. So we really just use that store locator. We right now we're funneling the sales to the distributors that we currently have on board.
Okay.
And like you said, Max is fantastic. I mean, I think that was a very, very proud moment for Randy. He's always wanted to work with them.
Yeah.
So that was a big achievement for him. If you go on to the website, you can, obviously order it through Max. But it's just one of those things where we do well with design and importation. We're doing better with marketing. We do pretty well with sales. We don't really want to sell to the end user. I mean, we'd rather funnel it through these other bigger names and do advertising with them and support them. That's
absolutely.
Really our goal. So,
well,
and Max is great.
Well, you can look
I was
at
just
it.
going to say, I've also been,
Yep, go, buddy, go.
I've just been humbled by the amount of, one-off single distributors as well that have come on board. And they're all showing an interest. So we'll work with all of them. Be happy to do advertising with them and support them the best that we can. So
Yeah, and what I was trying to jump in there and say was, I am a very I like things very simple. I'm a simple guy, I'm ex-army, so that whole army proof, dumb it down attitude, like that fits me very, very well. So if you're good at something, so i.e., bringing in the material, building it, getting it built, and doing all the trials and evaluations, all that stuff, and then pushing it out. If that's what you're good at, why would you now try to have to hire some? Because now, if you guys want to start selling it at your website, well, first off, now you've got to get an e-commerce site, which could be a friggin' nightmare, right, depending on how much money you want to spend on that. Then you've got to buy social media and influencer. It's a hockey sock full of extra costs that would come with, if you wanted to do it from your own website. And then if there's extra costs there, well, then the consumer is going to see it, because then you have to recover your money. Like that's just business 101. So, you're good at what you do. So then let the distributors, move the product. You guys do your thing, and then at the end of the day, the consumer is going to be better off because the price will be cheaper. That's the way I see it anyways.
Right. Well, and not to mention the fact that most of these distributors have a brick and mortar location.
Yeah, absolutely.
We don't want to get into that. I mean, you got to have,
yeah,
that's a huge investment. So
100%.
Let them do it.
Yeah, absolutely. And they're good at it, right? They've already built the clientele.
Right.
They already know what they're doing. So yeah, let them run with it.
Yep.
And I think yours would definitely be products where people are going to want to see them too, right? Like you're talking about a motor, you're talking about blades and moving parts. Like people are going to want to, especially if it's like Damien said, and it's the price is considerably different than others. It's like they're going to want to see it and see that it feels durable and everything too, right? So having it in those places is really going to help.
Yeah, and I think, once fellas see, guys and girls start looking, and I'm hoping, I really am hoping that everybody that's listening to this episode, they're jumping on showmeducks.com, the website, and they're pulling through, going through the website and looking at the products and stuff. I really do hope that people are looking at it and going, yeah, man, like that's a very affordable option compared to the other things that's out there. And no slag against the other products, none whatsoever. But let's face it, everybody's trying to make do with their hard-earned money the best way that they can. And if you can find a cheaper option, well, then you're going to go with the cheaper option. And like Craig just said, if I can walk into, let's say, Max, I've never been in Max, but I've been in Bass Pro and I've been in Cabela's and stuff. And usually when they have a product, something like this, especially anything electronic, they usually have it set up to show it working, right?
Right.
And
Yep.
I think that if someone can walk into a store and see this operating, that's the winning ticket, right? Like that's ultimately what consumers want to do.
Yeah, and for Max, we don't have like a live sample that's actually running, but we did build a display to show these off, and I mean, you can go in there, you can touch it, and you can see, we basically built like a cedar platform for the decoys to sit on, and the stand sits very tall, so the motor is right at eye level, and you can really check them out. You can see the display boxes on the shelf, and get an idea of I mean, exactly what it looks like and what it's going to do. So,
well, and I think, and listen, uh, I'm not going to pretend to be a business major from Yale or anything like that, but if a bunch of people starts walking into Max and saying, I want to see this thing friggin' work, and there's a lot of people saying, I want to see it work, Max is probably going to build a display to show that it works, right? Because if the customer wants it, chances are they're going to do it. So, no, buddy, I think you guys are onto something. I really do. You can take that for what it's worth. But I really do think that you're onto something, and I am really excited to see where it goes, and I want to pick your brain more about your Canadian distribution, because obviously I want that extra tool in my toolbox, that if it can extend my waterfowl hunting season, then yeah, I'm interested, right? So I think
for sure,
nothing but good things coming, buddy.
Well, I appreciate that a lot. Yep.
Craig, do you have anything else, buddy?
No, I was just thinking, I wanted to ask about the decoy setup. Did I see on the video that it has like a button like on command kind of thing too? Or is it just a timer?
No, so the deep diver is actually set up to where it has a pulse button. So it can either be a push button on off, and the push button is big enough to where obviously you can hold it with your hand. But we also set it up to where you can set it on the ground and you can step on it with your muddy boots, if you want to have both hands ready to go. So it can be a pulse button, but then it can also be a constant on off situation. We have had some customers that will hardwire it to like a light switch in their pit or whatever. So, I mean, really, however you can use it, but that was, in our opinion, the easiest way to set it up. So you can just pull it out of the box, attach the arms with the thumb screws, use the snap swivels to connect your decoys and start hunting.
Then it's a cool option to be able to just kind of use it like a foot pedal to do it, because that's
right.
We were talking on a couple episodes ago. We were talking about things like jerk rigs and that, where you're trying to minimize your motion, but then you're swinging your arm around and stuff. So, and just you've got your calls in your hand, you've got your gun in your hand, and that's cool to know that you can just use it like as a foot pedal.
Yeah,
it's a great option.
And it just popped up in my brain right now, so I got to ask it because I meant to ask it a while ago. So when we first came on call, you had talked about, you can use any car battery or deep cycle battery, right? For me, right off the bat, I'm saying, well, it needs to be a deep cycle battery, right? Because it'll just get colder, especially, if I use your example and I say, well, listen, I'm going to set the timer for 3 a.m. I want this thing to come on. So obviously I've got to set that up at the night, go home, go to bed, whatever, and hope that, well, not hope, but plan on that at 3 a.m. this is going to kick off, start kicking water and the whole bit. So that deep cycle battery, especially for and I don't know what your trials were, but for me up here in Canada, I would think I would need that deep cycle cold cranking amps battery.
Yeah.
In order, to be confident to go to bed at night knowing that, hey, listen, this thing is gonna start up at 3 a.m. the way that I plan. But then, on those cold nights, I was just thinking, like, I wonder if you just, like, I don't know, like those heating blankets, those heating blankets, not like the blanket that your wife wears, puts on and on the couch when she's watching Grey's Anatomy. I'm talking about like that, like an actual heating blanket. If you wrap that around a cold, off a deep cycle battery, I wonder, would that extend, your I guess your operating time. I don't know what you guys did for trials when it come to the cold weather.
Well, I mean, we did run trials on it, but again, it's in Missouri. So, I
Mm-hmm.
mean, we were in the negative temperatures, but I don't think it was much, maybe -3 or 4.
Right.
In a regular car battery didn't seem to be an issue.
Okay. That's
But
good
yeah,
to
for you
know.
guys where you're enduring the deep winter, that deep cycle may be a good idea. And um, again, it may be one of those things where you kind of have to do a little preparation and
Right.
you try it out ahead of time.
Yeah.
And yeah, maybe a heating element of some kind would be the ticket. If you're having an issue with it starting up or staying extended, life.
Yeah. I think, just, my knowledge and my very limited knowledge. So my very limited knowledge of December with a mud motor and trying to get that friggin' thing going at the boat launch. Um, and I'm just thinking, if I had this, I would have to ensure that I had some way to make sure that it is going to go at 3 a.m. Now, if I'm walking out to the duck hole and the battery is in the house and I'm putting it in the truck and then driving and setting it up at 4 o'clock or 5 o'clock in the morning and then letting it run its thing, that's not an issue, I don't think. I think the issue
Right.
for me would be if I set it in place the night before for the next morning. I think that's where that deep cycle battery, I think, would be would be your best bet. I don't know.
Yeah.
That's just what I'm thinking. Um, we are at 60 minutes. And that 60 minutes flew by fairly quick. So, Craig, if you have nothing left, Kyle, is there anything that you want to say that, Craig and I are asking you questions or me doing very long-winded friggin' segues? Is there anything that you want to say about the product, about the brand, the company, anything? The floor is yours, buddy. So if you have anything, go for it.
Yeah. I mean, I think we covered pretty much everything. Really, the thing I would say is I really appreciate the opportunity to come on the show and talk with you guys. Maybe I need to come up to Canada and do some more product testing when it's real cold outside
I think so.
and see how they operate. Yeah.
I think so.
But other than that, we're just excited. We're excited to be breaking into the industry, and we're already excited with the results that we're getting. So that's really about it.
No, that's awesome, buddy. And I know sometimes it's difficult to get across that imaginary line that we call a border, but Brian Ellithorpe, who's a very, very good friend of mine, who's in Ohio and right on Lake Erie, I believe is where he is. Um, Even if you can't get up to Canada and you went and hooked up with Brian Ellithorpe, he could provide you with some real nasty cold weather that you could do some good trials on. But call, buddy,
Yeah.
it's amazing how small this waterfowl hunting world is, and how you and I connected, and to the point that we connected, and here we are doing a face to face interview over 1,000 miles, which is amazing. And Craig,
Yep.
between the three of us, the distance that we're covering right here, I think it's amazing. I'm welcoming you to please stay in touch. You do not need an invite to ever come back on the show. It's an open invite. So if you or anybody from Show Me Ducks ever want to come back on the show, all you had to do is message me, and say, hey,
Okay.
listen, we need to come on. We need to talk about this because this is awesome, or whatever. We'll get you in, buddy. So we'll do a quick around the
That sounds
table.
great.
Yeah, no, we'll do a quick around the table and give you the last words. Craig, to you, my man.
That was just good talking to you, Kyle. Good luck with everything, and especially with the upcoming show season at the expos and the shows. That should be a lot of fun. Good luck throughout those.
And last words to you, Kyle, buddy.
Again, just wanted to extend my thanks to Damien and Craig. It's been a lot of fun, and hopefully I didn't bore you too much. So
That was a great show, dude.
Awesome. So, but yeah, hopefully we'll see you guys at Delta or SHOT Show or somewhere soon in the future.
Hey, I'm going to send you some information about a Toronto show in March.
Okay.
And I'm going to tell you, it's a good time. And I really want you guys up, but I'll send you some information on that. But I also have a couple friends that I do want to introduce you to, because I really do think that the product needs to be up here in Canada, because it would extend our season, and waterfowlers are an eccentric bunch, and if we can extend it by a week, we most certainly will. Kyle, thanks so much for coming on, buddy. You are very good at your job, and yeah, very good at your job. So well done to you. Ladies and gentlemen, this was episode 184 of the Union 0430 podcast. We are not experts, nor will we ever pretend to be experts. We're a bunch of friends, love one another's company, and we love talking anything bird hunting, not duck, not deer, not turkey, not moose, not bear, ducks or geese. Until next time, big love. Surround yourself with good people.